Previously on Traveller of Places. Then what good am I? Hermione yells, tears on her cheeks. If I had known, Percy and Mr. Weasley might have survived. I know things. That's what I do. And I didn't, and they're dead. But two cannot stand in the place of one, and neither can live while the other survives. Hermione, who spent a whole year working with and researching time travel, notices an enormous device with gears to turn the massive hourglass in the center, standing between the graves of Tonks and Sirius. Remus Lupin, his arm still in a sling. The Dark Lord has returned. Hey there! So, we've been rewriting the original Harry Potter stories. In the first video, we went through all 7 books, pointing out some of the big issues, and coming up with solutions to the same problems, while avoiding as many of the pitfalls as we could. And in part 2, we started telling that alternate story, showing how it might play out over the first 5 books worth of changes. Links for both parts are below as we head towards a very different ending for the series, hoping to pay off a lot more of what's been set up. As always, trans rights are human rights, and if you can, please donate to the Trevor Project. They run support and crisis lines for the LGBTQ+ community, placing them on the forefront of dealing with the recent wave of transphobia the world is currently facing. There's a link below. They deserve all the help they can get. And now, in this video, it's time we get into Book 6. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We open as usual, with Dumbledore asking Harry for help in recruiting Slughorn as Potions Master. They spend the year trying to get the old teacher to hand over his memory of Tom Riddle inquiring about Horcruxes, what they are, and how to make them. Without that memory, they have no means of knowing how many are out there to destroy. In aid of this, Harry finds an old, tattered potions book, once belonging to someone called the Half-Blood Prince. It has messages and potion-making tips scrawled throughout, launching him to the top of Slughorn's class, and winning him a good luck potion. From this point on, he's never seen without that book. But in the wake of the previous year's deaths, a pallor has fallen over our heroes and their family. Hermione is also never seen without a textbook. This is normal, of course, but where her previous researches have been akin to a garden stroll, this feels to Harry and Ron more like a death march. She is determined to a level they find concerning. But when asked about her reasons, she always blows them off. They can't get a word out of her. Cast into this mix, Harry and co have the distinct feeling that Draco is acting suspicious. More so than usual. They don't know what he's up to, but frequent attempts to find out lead to little result. They see him enter a shady antique shop, Borgin and Burke's, and they see the vanishing cabinet he inspects, but know not what it means. Meanwhile, Draco and Snape are visibly close this year, rarely one without the other. Draco's eyes are often red, and Snape keeps tight-lipped. It seems that everyone is on edge. What the heroes don't know is that Voldemort has tasked Malfoy with killing Dumbledore, in an effort to prove his family still has worth, especially after the failure with a prophecy last year. Lucius wants Draco to go through with it to save his own skin, while Draco's mother, Narcissa, just wants her son to survive, which killing Dumbledore would assure. For this reason, Narcissa and Bellatrix Lestrange force Snape into helping the teenager accomplish this feat, and into making the unbreakable bond to kill Dumbledore himself, should Draco fail. What we're changing here, though, is that Snape becomes a far closer mentor to Draco. Their relationship mirrors Dumbledore and Harry's, and Snape spends hours giving Malfoy extra classes in preparation. Draco honestly doesn't think he can do it. He doesn't want to, but knows he must. A large part of Snape's extra lessons are devoted to preparing the boy, mentally, to go through with murder. While this is happening, Draco is experimenting with the Vanishing Cabinet to try and sneak the Death Eaters onto school grounds. Harry tells Remus about their suspicions while they're at the Burrow for Christmas break, and about following Malfoy to Borgin and Burke's. They theorize that a second Vanishing Cabinet might exist within Hogwarts, and so the two together could be used to enter the grounds. As such, Remus gives Harry a mound of Floo powder in case they're in need of an escape route, reminding him that the fireplace in Dumbledore's office is still connected to the Floo network, but it is the only one. "If you're in danger," Remus says, "whether or not Dumbledore is on the grounds, you get to his office and Floo powder out, okay?" Harry agrees, but while they're talking, the burrow is attacked and destroyed. Fighting ensues between the Death Eaters and our heroes. George loses his ear in the conflict, and Molly Weasley is slain in defending him. She doesn't go down easily though, taking out a number of enemies in the process, including blasting away Bellatrix Lestrange's left hand, causing her to sound the other Death Eaters into retreat. The Weasleys are growing used to death, and the adults of the Order grow thin. After the funeral, Ron is distraught, the kind of sorrow that leaves you quiet, but ready to explode at a moment's notice. He sees Hermione poring through her books and yells, "What are you doing? What's so important in your bloody books that you can't put them away?" Harry gets between them. "Hey, calm down, man. Leave her be." "No!" Ron yells. "Mum is dead, and she's just reading! Dad is dead! Percy's dead! George lost his ear, and she just keeps on reading! What's in there? Tell me!" "A way to save them!" Hermione yells back. The shock silences Ron. Harry turns to her. "What?" "I didn't want to tell you. I wasn't sure if it would work, but I think I know a way to save them. Save everyone." "Yeah? How?" Ron asks. "When we were in the Ministry, I saw something. The Grand Time Turner." "That big copper ring thing?" Harry asks. She nods. "That's a machine that can take you back not just hours, but months, years at a time. I've been trying to figure out how it works, if it could be used. That's what's in these books." "What, so we could save Mum? And Dad?" Ron asks. "Yes, that's the idea," she says. But what?" asks Harry. "But there's a problem. With that much time dust in use, it doesn't just jump back in the timeline, it splits it. We wouldn't have problems being seen, could make any changes we like, but everything here would continue without us, unchanged. And there's no way back." "But Mum and Dad would be alive?" asks Ron. "Yes, an alternate version, but a version that currently doesn't exist," she says. "But then also, Ginny, Fred, and George, they'd be left behind. And I thought, maybe it's an emergency backup, if we lost. And if that's the case, then maybe we don't go back just to save your parents, Ron. Maybe we go back further. And..." She looks at Harry. Harry's eyes light up. "What? Save mine? You want to save my parents?" Hermione shrugs. "We know everything about the night they were killed." She lifts a book by her side. "There's whole novels about it. We know Pettigrew sold them out. We could easily warn them and stop their deaths." "But then Voldemort wouldn't disappear the first time either," Harry says. "That is true," Hermione admits. "But if we know how to defeat him, which they didn't at the time, we could stop him permanently the first go around, with the help of the Order and Dumbledore, when both are more powerful. We stop this whole thing from happening, save everyone. But it would mean accepting that this world we've grown up in can't be saved." They sit for a moment in silence, contemplating this. "No, that's not true," says Ron. "We're not trying to save the world. We're just teenagers. That's not on us. But if we can save those important to us, try to stop the darkness where we can, maybe the world will follow suit." "What do you mean?" Harry asks. "Harry, most of our people, family, friends, they're gone. Buried," Ron replies. "If not for them, what are we fighting for? And yeah, I know we just had my own mum's funeral, and maybe I'm not in the best place to talk, but we've only got half a dozen people left. Maybe they come with us. Hermione, do you really think we could do this?" She nods. "I don't think Voldemort is the problem. I think he's just the person who realized a lot of other people agree with him and who took advantage of that. If we go back, I don't know, maybe that can be changed? And if it was, how many lives could be spared? Ron, your parents would survive. Harry, a young version of you would grow up without a scar, without any of this." Harry touches his scar, which had been tingling for months. The thought of a life with his parents, without the Dursleys, without a scar on his forehead, it seems unthinkable. Harry nods understandingly. "All right, that's a last resort, but we haven't lost yet. It's been painful and we've lost people, but we can still do this. "We still got Dumbledore. There's still a chance Voldemort can be defeated." The other two agree. As they return to Hogwarts on the train, newspapers are passed up and down the aisle. The last gasps of the old ministry have fallen. Kingsley and Mad-Eye Moody are dead in the conflict. Voldemort has officially taken power. Harry is silent. Ron's eyes are still red. Hermione opens her book and gets back to work. Harry still reads through the Half-Blood Prince's potions book. It's helped him immeasurably in gaining ground with Slughorn, but he can't figure out who the Half-Blood Prince is. And in one of the pages, he finds a spell, Sectum Sempra, scrawled in the margin. There's a note beside it, "For enemies," but nothing more to say what it does. A few weeks into term, Harry is called to Dumbledore's office, as he has many times before. But when he arrives, Snape and Dumbledore are arguing. "I need you to do it, Severus, please!" They stop talking as they notice Harry's arrival. "Severus?" Dumbledore asks. Snape frowns. "Fine then, so be it," and walks out, leaving Harry and Dumbledore alone. "Is everything all right, Professor?" Fine, Harry. Nothing for you to worry about." They get on with their work, figuring out Voldemort's plan, piecing together memories Dumbledore has collected over years of research, including the forged memory Slughorn had previously provided. It takes several weeks, but with the use of the luck potion, Harry is able to acquire Slughorn's true memory, revealing that Voldemort has created 5 Horcruxes, 5 pieces of his broken soul hidden away, and that allow him to survive death. Each one needs destroying for him to be defeated. Dumbledore is shocked to hear this. Five! He yells. He reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a busted old diary and a dark metal ring. "Riddle's diary?" Harry says. Dumbledore nods. "And this is his mother's old ring, which was a trial to defeat, let me tell you." He raises his left hand. It's withered and black, the wounds of battle with a Horcrux. "I suspect he burned through one with Professor Quirrell, and another to return to form in the graveyard," Dumbledore says, his face in his hands. "But that still leaves one more. I'd hoped the ring would be the last, but we have no way of knowing what the final Horcrux may be." For just a moment, Harry sees Dumbledore and worries. He feels somehow weaker. Maybe that wound to his hand goes deeper than he thought. "Professor, how do you destroy them?" "With great difficulty," Dumbledore chuckles. "To kill a Horcrux is to kill a soul, not just break it. You need something that can burn so deep that nothing remains. Basilisk venom works, as you found with the diary. With the ring, I tried a few well-placed spells and was successful, but I'd not try it again. Others, no doubt Dragonfire would work. Perhaps a volcano if you've got one, but even lava isn't always hot enough." "Would a killing curse work?" The headmaster turns a knowing smile and raises his charred hand. "How do you think I got this? The curse separated the soul from the ring, that's how it kills people. But after that it's still a fierce battle. And that's provided you can find it in the first place." They sit in silence, thinking of what the final Horcrux could be, and find no answers. Harry leaves Dumbledore's office, bumping into Malfoy, who's just standing in the hall. Harry's about to yell at him. What's he doing, lurking around like that? When he notices Draco's eyes are red, like he's been crying. "Hey, what's wrong?" Harry says. "Daddy not happy with you?" "Shut up, Potter," Draco replies, and pushes past him. But Harry grabs his arm. "Hey, no, what is it?" "Let go of me," Draco yells, pulling out his wand and sending a stun spell at Harry, before running into the nearby bathroom. Harry just manages to dodge it, pulling out his own wand and firing back, following him. "What's wrong with you?" Harry yells when he finds Draco staring into the mirror. "Not enough to make everyone's life worse? You attack us when we try to help? What makes you think you can help me, half-blood?" Malfoy yells, turning and firing curse after curse. There are tears in his eyes. But Harry barely notices, he just gets angry. Malfoy, this bully, this enemy of his since he arrived at Hogwarts, is trying to kill him. Very well, he thinks. Two can play at that. Harry fires back, and the two duel fiercely, obliterating half the bathroom, until, in desperation, Harry fires off a bolt of Sectum Sempra, the spell from the Half-Blood Prince's book, hitting Draco in the gut. Wounds appear all across Draco's body, bleeding out, and he collapses just as Snape arrives. The floor turns crimson as Harry realizes what he's done.
"Well, well, Potter,"
Snape says, disappointment covering surprise.
"Who knew you had such dark magic?"
Harry runs off, terrified, while Snape casts the counter curse, healing Malfoy's wounds. When Draco sits up, slowly, with Snape's help, the teacher hands him a piece of honeycomb.
"Sugar. Eat, it will help."
Draco nods, taking a bite. His eyes are still red, and his hands shaking. "Professor, what's wrong with me?" Snape is crouching at Draco's eye level, carefully watching if the boy will pass out.
"The only thing wrong with you, Malfoy, is you're a teenager," he says. "You don't know what you're doing, the world is increasingly dangerous, and for better or worse, you're in the middle of it."
Draco doesn't meet his eyeline.
"But I'll tell you this,"
Snape says.
"It hurts now, but it does get better, and you will get through this."
Once Draco's finished the honeycomb and his shakes have settled, Snape helps him to the hospital wing to be checked over. He's worried about the boy. There's only so far one can be pushed before something breaks. Meanwhile, Harry runs back to the Gryffindor common room to Ron and Hermione, explaining everything that happened in a rush. His own hands are shivering as well. I just wanted to help. He seemed hurt," Harry says. "Then he fought, and I reacted, and I didn't mean to." "Is Draco alive?" Hermione asks. "Who cares?" Ron adds with a grin, before Hermione's glare silences him. "Harry, is he?" Harry nods. Snape saved him. He should be all right. Hermione is relieved, and they decide to burn the Half-Blood Prince's book in the common room fire. All Harry can think of, as he watches the flames creep through its pages, is what Snape had said, how he'd used such dark magic, and the prophecy that said Voldemort would have a rival. Two cannot stand in the place of one. He seemed hurt, Harry thought. What have I done? I just wanted to help. Weeks pass by. Harry is sitting at the top of the clock tower, watching the sun setting. He's alone, though he suspects Ron and Hermione might find him soon. They usually do on days like this. He's passing a galleon coin through his fingers. Not a real galleon, but one of the custom pieces Hermione had made for them last year, used to call Dumbledore's army to train. He's doing this because, a year ago to the day, he and the DA had travelled to the Ministry to save Sirius. And in doing so, Sirius had died, along with Tonks and nearly many more. Remus still hadn't totally healed. And now, half the Order was dead and buried. He wonders how much of that was his fault. "I thought I might find you here," says a voice. Harry turns to see Dumbledore strolling in. "The sunset is beautiful, of course, but I suspect you're not really here for the view." I needed to think." "You're wondering if you made the right choices?" Dumbledore asks. Harry nods in response, unable to speak. Meanwhile, Snape walks down a long hall, running into Malfoy. I've just received word," Draco says, his voice quivering. "It's time." The teacher's face is unreadable.
"Hurry up then. Let's go."
They bring in a number of Death Eaters through the Vanishing Cabinet, including Bellatrix Lestrange, hand still missing, and Draco's father, Lucius. Draco leads them all up to the tower, where they know Dumbledore will be watching the sunset, as he often does. Ron and Hermione are out looking for Harry when they see the trail of Death Eaters. They follow behind at a distance. "Harry, you did what you thought was best," Dumbledore tells him. You thought Sirius was in danger and acted to save him. He'd have done the same thing in a heartbeat. But he wasn't in danger, Harry replies. It was a trick, and I fell for it. Everyone else came in after me, and some of them didn't come back. It's my fault. Oh, what a great failure, says Dumbledore. Harry Potter loves his family, tried to save them. This must be fixed at once. Harry doesn't respond, just stares at the old man, unsure what to say. Harry, tell me something, Dumbledore continues. Did you ask anyone to come in with you? No, Harry replies. I wanted them to stay. It was too dangerous. All right, Dumbledore says. And let's say it wasn't Sirius you saw in that vision. Say it was young Mr. Weasley or Miss Granger. If you had to run into danger alone to save them, would you? Would you have acted any differently? No, of course not. I'd have to help them. Oh? What if it was me or Professor Lupin? Ginny? Neville? Would you run into danger to help any of us as well? If I thought the danger was real, yeah. What if there was just a chance you'd still run in to save us? Dumbledore asks. Even knowing it might also be a trap, you don't know which, you just know one way or another it's dangerous to go in. Would you still go and fight to protect your friends? Yes, I'd have to, unless I know for sure I can't risk not going. But it's only me that should be in danger, not everyone else. It's my visions, my choice. I see, he says, thinking a moment. And tell me, do you think they know that? What? Harry asks. Do you think your friends, your family, know that without hesitation you'd risk your life to save them? For the chance to save them? Harry doesn't say anything. He honestly doesn't know. You don't have to answer, Harry, Dumbledore says. I will. They do. We all do. That's why they follow you in, and why you run in for them. We have each other's backs, and we all know we do, because that's the only way any of us survive this. You made a bad call. That's not your fault. It was a trap designed for you, and myself and the others who could catch that trap. We weren't there. Feel bad for the loss, absolutely. Mourn, absolutely. But understand that it was not your fault. Your only crime was caring. The day you lose that, Harry, you lose the whole point. They hear people climbing the stairs, several pairs of feet. That's likely Ron and Hermione, Harry says, still coming to grips with Dumbledore's words. No, Harry, I think not, Dumbledore replies, pulling out his wand. Harry, I need you to hide, and do not come out for anything, no matter what happens. Harry is unsure, but hides below nonetheless. As he watches, he sees Draco enter, disarming Dumbledore as he does. Behind him walks Bellatrix Lestrange, Lucius Malfoy, and several other Death Eaters alongside. But before Harry can come to Dumbledore's aid, he's hit by a stun and drops to the concrete. His attacker gently rolls him over, and Harry comes face to face with Snape, standing over him. Harry tries to groan in anger at the teacher, who silences him with a wave of his wand and holds a finger to his own lips.
If you face them, Potter, you will die, he whispers. The stun will wear off in about 2 minutes. When that happens, get yourself out. Hogwarts is not safe for you anymore.
Harry doesn't know what to make of this. All he knows is Dumbledore is up there, facing the Death Eaters alone. Snape pulls something from his robe, a vial filled with silvery light, and tucks it into Harry's pocket.
I'm sorry, Potter, Snape says. I did all I could. Do not think less of me.
Snape leaves Harry below and joins the Death Eaters facing Dumbledore. Draco is tense, trying to find the courage to kill his own headmaster, as he's been ordered to, as he's been trained. Bellatrix Lestrange is egging him on, but Draco doesn't want to do it. He can't. Then Snape joins them. Severus, Dumbledore says to his old friend. Please, I need your help. Snape raises his wand to the headmaster and whispers, Avada Kedavra. The curse hits Dumbledore in the heart, and he plummets off the tower. Harry tries to scream, but the silencing spell is still in place. The Death Eaters start cheering and heading downstairs. Snape orders them to gather the school in the main hall. A change of leadership is in order. Harry is furious. After a minute of raging, he breaks out of the stun and charges after them, firing at Snape, stuns and curses Sectum Sempra learned from the Half-Blood Prince's book. Snape repels the attacks, stunning Harry once more.
You dare use my own spells against me,
Snape says, stepping closer. There's fire in his eyes.
Yes, I am the Half-Blood Prince. And then I grew up. You should too.
Snape leaves Harry on the floor, paralyzed, until he's found by Ron and Hermione. Hermione uncurses him, and Harry tells them what's happened. Dumbledore is dead. Hogwarts is now under the Death Eaters' control. They have lost. Hermione, Harry says, do you think that time travel plan could still work? She nods, sadly. But what about everyone else? Harry holds up the DA coin. We asked them. They use the galleon to call Dumbledore's army once more, meeting at the Room of Requirement while the rest of the school is being gathered in the Great Hall, and they explain to them the plan. The others agree that the plan is good, but it's decided that while they'll help the main three reach Dumbledore's fireplace, they won't go through with them. Someone's got to keep pissing off these losers, right? Neville says with a smile. They break up into two teams. Most run diversions through the castle, taking up the Death Eaters' time, while Harry, Ron and Hermione, along with Neville, make a break for the fireplace. Ron hugs Ginny goodbye, and off they go. After a fierce fight to the office, they reach their goal. Harry grabs Slughorn's true memory from Dumbledore's stash, while Hermione and Ron flew powder into the Ministry. Neville catches Harry before he leaves. When you get there, can you make sure my mum and dad are okay? Harry agrees and hugs Neville goodbye, just as Draco bursts through the door. His wand is raised to the other two, who brace for impact, but Draco just shouts through his teeth. What are you waiting for? Go, now! Harry doesn't understand, but Neville pushes him into the fire and sends him off to join Ron and Hermione. The other Death Eaters charge into the room, led by Lucius Malfoy. Neville tries to fight them off, buys as much time as he can, but is ultimately captured. The Death Eaters follow our heroes into the Ministry with only a few minutes gap. But this is enough. They charge for the Grand Time Turner, and Hermione gets to work churning the great contraption into life. She's nearly finished when the Death Eaters reach them. Harry and Ron provide covering fire for Hermione, fighting them off while she sets the last few gears. Draco doesn't fight. He keeps aiming at Harry, but doesn't land a single shot, even when he easily could have. Eventually, Lucius gets the upper hand, throwing Harry to the ground. Hermione pulls the final lever, and an enormous portal opens behind them. Come on, she yells. Lucius is over this. To hell with saving you for the Dark Lord, he thinks. If I kill you, Potter, I'll be a hero. He winds up the killing curse, but Draco roars, No! He steps in front of his father, glaring into the eyes he never once disobeyed, and screams, Avada Kedavra! Just as he'd been taught all year. Lucius Malfoy, what's left of him, falls to the ground. Draco barely moves. The other Death Eaters, especially Bellatrix Lestrange, take a moment to comprehend the betrayal of one of their own. Then the bombardment begins. Harry, Ron, and Hermione leap through the portal. Draco fends off every bolt he can, but then retreats, following them through the door, just as it closes. And so the room is left empty in their wake. The Death Eaters try to follow, but cannot comprehend the machine, so instead they destroy it. Cut to Ginny, Neville, and Luna, all rounded up, battered and bruised in the Great Hall, as Snape becomes the new headmaster of Hogwarts. They kept the diversion running for almost half an hour, more than they'd expected given their foes. Do you think they made it? Ginny asks. Oh, I'm sure they did, says Luna. Neville smiles. His cheeks are bleeding. Yeah, they must have. The staff are required to swear to the new order. McGonagall refuses, and with a glare in her eye and a grin on her lips, is slain in front of everyone. The other teachers agree instantly. So now we're left behind with no hope, says Ginny. That's not true, says Neville. Nothing lasts forever, not even this. It'll just take a lot longer now. But one day the sun will rise, and this will all be a memory. And what do we do in the meantime? We exist, in spite of them, says Luna. If they can't get rid of us, they can't really win. And so the world falls into darkness, one that may last a short while, or a long, but will not last forever, because nothing ever can. These fights are rarely won by the people who start them, and even dictators die of old age. But eventually that fight will be over. The darkness will clear, and the world will be safe again. Meanwhile, Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Draco Malfoy fly through the streams of time, back to a day before any of them can remember, and to a chance that few of us ever get. A second chance to do things right. Which leaves us with a beautiful little cliffhanger as we go into the next and final video in this series, with the 7th book that I'm now calling Harry Potter and the Boy Who Lived. That, my friends, is where we'll finish this little tale. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you there.